Hi, I'm Chef Matt Finarelli, and this is how to make your own pizza dough from scratch at home. To make your own pizza dough, it really is just as simple as combining your yeast and water with your flour and your salt. Pretty much like how any bread comes together. And that's the principle behind what we're going to be doing now. But most importantly, you have to weigh your ingredients. You're going to need a kitchen scale to make sure everything comes out just the way you want. In the bowl of the mixer, I find this is the easiest way to go about this. We're going to start with our water. And I want about 350 grams of warm water. Perfect. To that, I'm going to add my yeast, and it's 1 packet of yeast. Just get a regular envelope of yeast, or if you do yeast in bulk like I do, it's 2 1/4 teaspoons. Or you'll find that the whole thing weighs about 5 grams when all said and done. And just to make sure everything wakes up and starts getting going, I usually put in a little bit of sugar as well. All of this gets mixed together. That will dissolve the yeast and the sugar and get it all woken up, and it will start to begin its proofing. So we'll just set that mixer right on the stand. Now while that proofs for just a little bit, we're going to weigh out our flour as well. I'm going to get a large bowl, put that on the scale, and zero it out. And to this, we're going to start with 595 grams of bread flour. Okay, if you go a little over, no problem. It's real easy to take out and then get the exact 595 that you're looking for. We're going to add our salt. Zero that out. I want 10 grams of kosher salt. Just sprinkle that in. Perfect. And then finally, for just a little bit of fun flavor in the crust, I put in a 1/4 teaspoon each of dried basil, dried oregano, and dried rosemary. I know there's not a weight for these, but these all weigh less than 1 gram each, so it's not easy to measure these with your scale. So a 1/4 teaspoon is probably the best way to go about measuring these. And with the rosemary, for adding that one, I usually put it in my hand and give it 1 extra little crunch if I can to really crack up those rosemary leaf pieces, because they can be a little bit like dried pine needles a bit, so you really want to make sure that they're as crunched up as you can get them. There we go. I can just take the same whisk that I used for the mixing of the yeast and stir in the salt and herbs into the flour. Perfect. We just want to spread that salt out amongst the flour so that we're not dumping fresh salt right on top of our yeast when the time comes to mix the two. You could even use your hand to just give it a quick stir. It doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that the salt and the flour come together. And now, really all that has to happen is we marry together our flour and salt with our water and yeast. We try not to spill too much because we took our special time weighing everything. So we want to make sure we get everything in there. There we go. Perfect. Down goes your mixer, and on it goes to a nice low speed. Now this mixing process is going to draw the flour and the water together and help start developing some gluten in there. And then that gluten will be nice and sticky, and it will draw in the other flour that's in there. Right now, if you'll notice, the flour is sticking to the sides of the bowl and it doesn't look like it's going to mix. That's okay. Just hang tight, be patient, and you'll see as the two combine together and draw each other in, and you get a nice, beautiful mix of dough. Okay, the dough's been mixing for about a minute now, and you can see that the hook has drawn all the flour off the sides of the bowl. In fact, we say that it's clean to the sides of the bowl, as now we have a mass of dough that was holding on to the hook in the center of our mixer. And that's just perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to turn up the speed just a little, just to beat it around a little bit. Not very high. This is still just medium-low, medium. It looks like it's got a lot of kick, but I'm not going especially high with this. And we'll turn that off. At this point, open up, lift up, get that off the hook. And now we have our beautiful pizza dough. Perfect. Whoop, whoop. Lovely massive dough. Now what we're going to do is just to get those last few little bumps out of there. You can see it's still bumpy and it's not a very elastic dough yet. I'm just going to give it a few quick kneads on the counter. Don't add any flour at this stage, okay? We took the time to weigh that flour out. The last thing we want to do now is just indiscriminately start pouring more flour in. If your measurements are correct, you won't need any flour at this stage. Just a few quick kneads. There we go. You should have a nice, smooth ball of dough. It's very elastic. When you push it, it springs right back at you. Okay. Now that we have a beautiful kneaded ball of dough, it's time to let it rise. Get yourself a bowl, a little drizzle of olive oil in there, just a touch. And you're going to spread that ball of dough around the olive oil so that both the ball of dough and the bowl get coated in a thin layer of olive oil. There we go. Lovely. And now you just need to cover it. And you could use saran wrap, but my all-time favorite way to cover up a bowl like this is with a clean shower cap. I have a bunch of these that I use for bread work. So you put your shower cap on there, let that rise until it's doubled in size. Then all you have to do, punch it down, divide it into 3 balls, each one about 310 to 315 grams, and then let them sit again for about 30 minutes under a damp towel, and you'll be ready to go to start shaping your pizza dough.